How are you doing? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job and options training academy. And what we saw the market do today was go on a really, really strong, very, very bullish run. It went on a run that, to me, kind of exceeded my initial expectations on the open, and it kept going, right? And so, what, in my opinion, is that you're going to start getting, especially now that we're going into quote unquote holiday weekend, probably going to go into, my opinion, maybe be a lower volume day tomorrow because the bond market is going to be closed. You're going to start getting a lot of communication around maybe you should start buying the dip. Okay. And that's been a narrative that has worked for a very long time. So I understand why people continue to promote that narrative out. Buying the dip has worked literally for 20 years. And it's not hasn't worked this year, but a lot of people, the way they've been trained around the market, they don't have anything else to tell you except buy the dip. Miss Lady L, what's going on? I appreciate you coming through. They don't have anything else to except tell you to buy the dip. And you're going to get a lot of conversation around buying the dip. And what I want to kind of do is give you a little bit more of an alternative conversation, because I know how to make money in the market outside of just buying something and hoping it goes up. Okay. And I've proven that over time. Urban Homestead, I mean, what's going on with you? Appreciate you coming through. And so what I want to kind of do is give you some other scenarios, because really counseling somebody and advising them, and I'm not an investment advisor, but I am a trading advisor, even though I'm not licensed, but I just give my opinion on trading. So I'm not a licensed advisor. So I'm not giving investment advice, but I'm giving you my perspective. So let me make sure I phrase that properly. I'm going to give you my perspective, and then you can take that and you can take the people that have been trained and licensed and passed tests to tell you to buy the dip and to keep buying the dip based on what normally happens in the market in these scenarios, and also what normally happens in the market at the end of the year. Now, we've seen the FANG stocks get beaten down really hard this year. And one of the reasons why is we saw the FANG stocks over the past 2 years lead the market, right? We saw the FANG stocks lead the market. And as a result, over the course of this year, they've lost a lot of value. And now a lot of people are going to tell you where, because they've been so beaten down, they look like great opportunities to start adding. But what you got to understand is that what normally happens in the market at the end of the year historically, and then also what can happen based on the year that we've had, and we're going to kind of get into that, right? So the first thing that you normally see at the end of the year is what we call tax loss harvesting. And what it is a way in which people kind of are able to offset their tax liability based on what they may have lost in the market, and also based on what they may have gained. And you're normally going to see that in the end of the year, okay? Where people are going to start getting with their tax advisor, and they're going to utilize a certain strategy to kind of offset their tax liability. What that can cause is selling at certain names, especially FANG names that have been beaten down really, really hard. Because a person can feel like, well, you know what, I'm negative on that name for the year. I can tax loss harvest that name, and then I can offset the gain maybe in another name that I'm positive on. And you're normally going to see that every year, regardless of how the market went that year. This is something that normally happens every year around this time. And this is what I want you to watch out for as we get ready to go into the end of the year, and people are going to start communicating to you that you should just buy more, and you should just buy more, and you should just buy more, and you should just buy more. Now, if you want to learn what to do in the market without just having to always purchase to make money, I would encourage you to look at the highestpaid.online. It's an options trading academy. It can instruct you on how the options market actually works, how the derivative market option actually works, and designed to put you in a position to where you can make money once when you get that understanding on the market going up or down. We're having a 20% off discount code in our VIP program. That discount code is going to be November 20, NOV20, and that sale will be over this weekend, right? So let's get back to the content. So normally what you're going to get is a lot of people tax loss harvesting towards the end of the year. Okay, that would happen. Didn't matter what kind of market we're going to be in. This normally happens at the end of every year. The next thing you're going to get is what we call fund redemption. So let's really quickly show a real quick video on what fund redemption is, right?
When is the timing for fund redemption? The most common reason for redeeming a unit trust fund is when the fund has registered a loss for investors. However, many investors make the mistake of redeeming on the basis of a fund's poor performance over a short-term period. If a fund deviates from its original investment objective or investment style, such changes can almost assuredly affect your asset allocation plan and require a relook. A fund that significantly changes its investment objectives could cause its performance to deviate from your desired objectives and risk profile. For those who really need to liquidate their investments, consider the average cost method, which entails selling in stages. Investors moving out of a particular asset class can then slowly move into cash to prepare ahead of a financial commitment such as education expenses.
And that was designed just to give you a basic understanding of what a fund redemption is. And you can see fund redemptions at the end of this year. And the reason why you're going to see it is because people are just tired of being negative on the year. And so they may decide that, you know what, I want to just liquidate my position. And one of the examples of that is if you watch the movie The Big Short, they came into the office and they told Michael Burry that they wanted to sell their position because they weren't confident of what he was going to do based on how he had kind of leveraged that play. You may get a lot of people coming into their fund manager and telling them this year that I want to just get out. I've lost so much this year. I'm tired of it. I don't want to be in it anymore. Now, what can happen as a result of that? If I'm a fund and I got to start cashing people out, I may have to start selling to generate the liquidity to start cashing people out. So then what is that going to cause? That's going to cause selling because I got to get people out of their position now. Therefore, I can't just pay them out with maybe cash reserves. I may have to sell their position to get them out of this particular deal. So that can cause a lot more selling. And so what you may see this year is people doing tax loss harvesting and people doing fund redemptions before this particular year is out. One of the things you saw with the Tulsa is you couldn't do redemptions for like, I don't know, was it 12 to 24 months? He made it to where in the documentation, you couldn't get your money out of that deal. Therefore, if you started getting cold feet around the fact that, well, you know what, we're not seeing returns, it didn't matter. You were stuck into that deal. And I don't know if people knew that before they got into the deal. And I don't know if that was communicated to them, even though it was in the paperwork. So it was in the documents, but I don't know if that was something that was talked about when they were doing a lot of marketing around the deal. So to keep that fund from collapsing, he made it to where you couldn't do fund redemptions except after a certain time. So essentially, you just had to park your money in that fund and hoped he was able to get a return on it. Everybody doesn't structure their fund that way because all your potential clients may not agree to that. However, you may get fund redemptions this year. And one of the reasons is because the Nasdaq has been negative on the year. Let's go out to 1 year. Let's go to the weeklies. So this is around November, right? We were at 383. We closed today at 282. So essentially, we're pretty much almost 100 points under where we started the year off. And people may just decide, you know what? I want to go take my money and go do something else, right? I don't want to continue to have my money erode because there is no guarantee we don't go into a bear market next year. And this is why I keep telling people that the narrative around the market has to be that things are going to turn around because people are worried about their fund. You know, you got people that have been negative Kathy Wood's been negative the whole year. She has not been positive at all this year. Her fund has been beaten down really hard, right? She's negative over the whole life of her fund. She's made a lot of money on fees, but her investors, if you invested with her at the beginning, you're negative. She's made $500 million off fees though, but you're negative if you invest with her at the beginning. And you got to really understand that. And so what we've seen this year may cause people before the year is out to start trying to redeem their money, get their money out, which means that you can get a lot of downward selling pressure on the market. These are things that you want to look for before you start just going in and buying the dip because somebody's telling you that this stuff is cheap. We're going to go back to this particular chart. This is just my opinion. It's not investment advice, right? This thing's not going to recover 100 points in 5 days. It just won't. It's not going to recover 100 points in 5 days. Therefore, in my opinion, you're not under any obligation to buy. Now, if you're 25, 30 years old and, you know, you just want to do some speculative stuff or what people call speculative, it's not a big deal. But under any circumstance, if you look at what the Nasdaq has lost over the course of the year, it's not going to reclaim that in 5 days. It just won't. It won't. The market doesn't move like that. Even when we were bullish during the pandemic, once we started getting that liquidity, it didn't move up 100 points in 5 days. Therefore, you're going to have time to add into your position. And if you're going to be long-term in it anyway, you having to pay an extra $10 per share, it's not a big deal because you're still going to be a long-term investor. It's not investment advice. It's just my own opinion. But I would be wary of people telling you to chase this down, right? This big downturn, to start thinking, well, this is where you add. Because what can happen is this thing can continue to sell off. To me, there's not a narrative that explains why we don't go into a bear market next year, right? Nobody can explain why that won't happen. They can come up, if they continue to raise the rate incrementally, even at 0.25% every Fed meeting next year, the market's still going to keep going down. They continue to unwind their balance sheet. The market's going to still continue to go down. Nothing that they're doing, in my opinion, is going to offset the real estate market continuing to have issues, because they're going to keep raising the rate, which means that home sales are going to slow down. You understand me? That's why I want people to understand I don't see a reason to chase this, in my opinion. I would tell you to go to your investment advisor and ask them why they think you should chase it, right? Now, if you're 25 years old, it probably doesn't matter, because by the time you get ready to retire, it's going to all even out anyway. But if you're over a certain age, I don't know why you would want to chase this right now. Just because Amazon's at a low, Facebook's at a low. Facebook may never trade over $100 for forever, because, and it may be over 100 today based on the run, but the amount of money that Facebook is going to sink into the metaverse, if that doesn't work, that's the end of Facebook. So it's cheap for a reason, right? It's the reason why Facebook is where it's at now is for a reason. If that guy keeps spending up all the free cash in Facebook and he puts it into this metaverse thing, which a lot of people say he's 20 years ahead of the game, and it doesn't work, that's going to be the end of Facebook. You really need to understand why this sold off the way it did, right? And once you understand it, then you may understand it may not be a reason for you to chase it at this moment, right? You maybe could chase it 6 months from now. But right now, you maybe want to kind of see how the end of the year goes. Because if you get redemptions, if you get tax loss harvested, it could cause even more selling pressure. And then what is a narrative that we think the Fed's going to have post the December meeting going into the new year? Because if we watched this year, we didn't start getting a lot of really hard selling. If we go back to the chart, we didn't get a lot of really hard selling. To me, we got some in January. We had a relief rally, but it really started to slam down hard in March. Now, last year, this is why I was buying all my puts at in this month right here. Late December, early January for this time right here. So we started seeing around spring, we started getting a lot of really, really heavy selling. Like this was extremely hard all the way down until June. We may get this same scenario next year. There's no telling. We just got to see how it plays out. How is the Fed going to operate? Is the inflation rate going to continue to stabilize or continue to spike? Because if the energy situation changes, it's going to raise inflation, which means the Fed may have to get more aggressive. And these are the things I want people to kind of factor in and not feel like, well, I got cash on the sideline. Inflation's eating up my cash. They're correct. But if you put your money in this market can eat your cash up too, way faster than inflation will. Right? You won't lose 8% over the year. You'll lose 8% in 30 days. Right? You really got to understand that. So that's what I want people to understand. We got any questions, hit me up in the comments. We're going to get up and out of here. We're not going to be here long, but I just want to really encourage people to not feel like they got to chase this downturn, because it's a reason why this thing has been selling off so aggressively all year. And many people, the way they've been trained and the way they've been educated on the market is that the only thing they know how to do is to tell you to keep buying. And that may not be the best scenario in this situation that we're currently in right now. Right? It just may not be the best scenario unless, like I said, you're 19, 20 years old. It don't matter anyway, right? Because you know the market to be higher in 40 years than it is currently today, right? But if you're a little bit older, you may kind of want to watch how you're operating in this market, because we could potentially go onto another year bear run before we start looking at quantitative easing, because the Fed has to get this money out of the market. And based on all the data that they're looking at, the consumer still has too much money. And they need that consumer to eat up some of this money, right? They need that. And so there is not a big retail push anymore in the market because retail don't have the money to buy securities that they had 2 years ago when everybody was flush with money and everybody was trading. So we got any questions? If not, we're going to get up on out of here. So L Light says you can be ahead of the game and end up last. Just ask Atari. Yeah, definitely. Also, I forgot that company. A lot of people don't remember the company that made the first MP3 player, right? And then I don't even think they're around anymore. But most people see MP3 players, they kind of correlate that with Apple. Apple didn't make the first MP3 player. It was made by another company, but they were so far ahead of it. The consumer at that time really didn't understand MP3 players. So nobody even knows who they are. Like you can be so ahead of the market, it kills you because the consumer doesn't want that right now. And that's happened to a lot of people. It's happened to a lot of companies. You know, you can be, I remember there was a game console, I think it might have been called Neo Geo. Neo Geo was doing, I think their games from a bit standpoint were almost like they were almost like an arcade game on the console level. But nobody wanted that at that time. They literally was like maybe 5 years ahead of the console space. And I don't even think they're around no more. A lot of the collectors know about Neo Geo, but they were so far ahead of everybody else based on the games they were putting out. The consumer, one, didn't want to pay the cost of the game. And so because they didn't want to pay the cost of the game, there wasn't a market for it. Because, you know, the console game is about scale. It's not about selling like 50 consoles. You got to do numbers. You know, PlayStation, you got to do numbers in the console space. You know, forgot what the one that Microsoft puts out. Xbox. You got to do numbers. Neo Geo couldn't do the numbers, but they were way ahead of everybody. Then you also remember the Sega CD. The Sega CD came out before PlayStation, but it didn't take off. PlayStation came out with the exact same technology and they blew up. But Sega had that same tech first. That's what's crazy about, especially the tech space. You can be so early, it'll destroy you. You remember, not Musk. I don't know why I wanted to say his name. Steve Jobs in the mid 80s. So he went to Apple. He got fired. He created his own company in like the mid 80s. And he put out a computer with an SSD drive in the mid 80s. Nobody even understood what the hell he was doing. So it didn't work. So that company failed. Nobody talks about how that company failed. But he put out a computer in the mid 80s that had an SSD drive. People didn't even know what people still to this day don't know what SSD drives are. I got SSD drives on both my computers. Most people still using the spinning hard drive because they're inexpensive. So they're cheap, right? And that's all people know about. Most people don't know the benefit of an SSD. Steve Jobs had a computer with an SSD in like the mid 80s. He was 10 years ahead of everybody. He's 20 years ahead of everybody. That happens a lot in technology. A lot of people in tech, they thinking so far ahead of the game. There's not a lot of consumer intent for what they're trying to do yet because the consumer is not where they're at. And a lot of people are saying is that's where Zuckerberg is with this metaverse. They said the guy's 20 years ahead of the market. So he's going to sink all this money into the metaverse. And if it don't work, that's going to be the end of Facebook because they're going to spend all their money on this metaverse. And there's not going to be a market to sell that particular service to anybody because they said they focus groups, young people, real young people like Z's. And they said they don't want to be sitting with no visor on their head for 2 hours. But that's what you got to do to get into the metaverse now. Right? They don't want to do that. They don't want to have to take a meeting on the job and got to put a visor on their head. They don't want to do that. And that's the people that we're going to be going after for these metaverse applications. They don't want to do that. And therefore, so Facebook can't even sell their Oculus stuff to a lot of people. Right? So that's the issue. So GC said, I used to play video games 10 hours a day and I got tired of that headset. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They focus group Gen Z. They was like, they don't want to wear that headset for a long period of time. So that's what people got to understand is that, you know, you can be so far ahead of the game in tech and people don't want to do it right now. Cause like I said, Apple did not create the first MP3 player. I know the company that created it. They're not even in business anymore. They went out of business, right? Everybody knows MP3s for Apple with the little iPhone, whatever they had, but they weren't the first to do it. I don't think Apple was the first to do anything. They just was the first to go big with it. So let's get through these comments, man. We're going to get up on out of here. So we said Webvan was ahead of its time on online food sales. Went out of business trying to go too quickly. Amazon bought the idea to sell more books. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. There was in the early 2000s companies selling pet food online and it didn't hit. There's people doing that now making money, right? So it just was 20 years ahead of its time. Selling pet food on the internet in the early 2000s was 20 years too early. People doing that now and they're going to keep doing it. You know, these things happen. You know, no matter how good you think the idea is, the market got to want it at that time. And I think that's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. They can't figure out why the market doesn't want what they're doing at that moment. It works like that sometimes. 20 years from now, the whole world will be doing what you're talking about. It goes like that sometimes. You know, sometimes it's just like that. He says, Atari had a Jaguar. Yeah, same thing. That Jaguar CD based, it didn't go nowhere. Like I said, PlayStation came out and blew up. And they just came out at the right time. You know, because everybody saw that games was going to the CDs, but the customer had to want that CD. Then PlayStation came out and everybody I knew had a PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation just blew up. And it wasn't that the games was better. It was just the right offer at the exact right time. Yeah, Neo Geo's like, yeah, I had a homeboy had one. But the problem is that nobody else had one. So my homeboy had a Neo Geo. But yeah, Neo Geo had the arcade game on the console level. So the graphics was crazy, but they couldn't sell them because who in the mid 90s could buy an $800 console if you weren't rich? Consoles at that time was like $100. Then you got to get games for the console. Man, nobody parents gonna buy that stuff for them, man. You know what I'm saying? We still at that time, our parents were still buying stuff for us. So G says, I went to a startup conference. The dude said time is a problem. Yeah, definitely. Timing. You know, market intent. You know, a lot of good ideas are early. A lot of stuff that went out of business in the early 2000s and that tech run in the early 2000s, it's people got that same business right now. And they making money with that same business. It's just early. A lot of this streaming stuff was around in the early 2000s. The tech wasn't there, especially the bandwidth wasn't there to where people really want to do it. But what I'm doing right now existed in 1999, 2000, right? And a lot of people was trying to move into the streaming space, but the bandwidth wasn't there. It didn't look good. It was real choppy. It was a lot of frame issues, but the tech existed. Once they expanded the bandwidth, then everybody started jumping on the bandwagon and doing streaming. But streaming been around forever. Streaming ain't nothing new. Streaming been around forever. We just didn't have the bandwidth to do it in a way the way it looked attractive, right? But yeah, there was I forgot the name of this documentary about that tech run in the early 2000s, about how a lot of stuff that was out then, people doing today, and these companies went out of business in the early 2000s. No, they was cutting edge, but they couldn't get people to do it because people, 1999, man, a lot of people still trying to figure out how to do email. They weren't ready to start doing streaming online and watching people in chat rooms and stuff like that. They were still trying to figure email out, but we had streaming and all of that before we even had cell phones. But the market wasn't ready for that application yet. It took a long time for people to get ready to be doing YouTube streaming and Twitch and, I forgot the name of the one that used to be on Twitter. It took a moment. One thing that I learned as a creative is you don't ever want to be too far ahead of the market because they won't follow you. Because the average person, they don't know a space the way you know it. So if you spend all your time in a space and you immerse yourself in it, you see it differently than the average person who's worrying about like Netflix. You know what I'm saying? So, because people don't know, Netflix used to send you the movie. Then they moved to streaming early, and everybody said that was a bad move, but they had their timing right. But Netflix, people don't know, used to send you the physical movie. It wasn't a streaming platform, and they sunk a lot of money into streaming, but the timing was right, so it worked for them. And then they ran Blockbuster out of business doing that. But Netflix used to send you the physical movie in the mail. They used to have another company that would send you the game in the mail, but they went out of business. Now everything is just downloadable. But I think the metaverse blows up with pornography. And I think Zuck should wait for pornography to create the market. Then he should piggyback off of it. He don't have to do porn, but he can see what the intent is. Like, what are the habits around it? But I wouldn't, he has to lead it because Facebook is over. I've had so many problems with Facebook over the past 2 years. It's ridiculous. They're a dead platform. The young people don't want to be on it. They're over. And there's no more growth there. So he got to figure something out or else it's over for them. So he's going to sink that money into the metaverse. I don't think that's a good idea, but he's made so much money. He should never listen to me when it comes to making money. Because I haven't made nowhere near the kind of money he's at. So he should never listen to me. What I got to say about how they make money. That guy's a billionaire. He shouldn't listen to me about nothing. So if he want to sink all the free cash of Facebook into the metaverse, do your thing, man. Hope it work out for him. But I think pornography is going to have to determine the market for it. And then I think once they get the habits of it, then they can figure out how to make it for just the basic consumer. Because what a lot of people don't know is a lot of what we see on the internet was created as a way to facilitate porn. And then everybody else jumped on the bandwagon. But a lot of people don't know that. There's a really good movie about that. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, but I knew about Bitcoin in like 2000, I want to say 13, 2012. And I was like, man, it was so hard to buy it at that time. It wasn't like it is now. But I should have been buying all I could buy. That's why, to me, the price going down, I'm not tripping because I know it's going to go back up. What happened is retail, their money's tight, so they got to leave the Bitcoin market. Once they go back into this quantitative easing, all the money going to fly right back into that market. I guarantee you. So Roscoe says one of the good things about the dot-com bubble was a lot of infinite infrastructure being built out during that time for latecomers to benefit from. Definitely. And we already had business models already built. So like I said, a lot of this stuff that people are doing, so let me give an example, Roscoe. You may not remember it. Clubhouse, that's nothing but the party line. So it blew my mind that young people are on the party line and they being sold that this is new thing. And the technology behind that is so basic. It's ridiculous. It's number voice. It's like a voice over protocol. There's no video. There's no real heavy data being sent. It's just voice, and it's the party line. And now because of the internet, you create these little rooms. But man, we was doing that 20 years ago. That ain't nothing new. So the infrastructure has been built out. The party line played out because everybody wanted to be on the social media. But as we see, all they did was bring the party line back using the same infrastructure that was always there. And it's not even a real drag on the infrastructure because you're not driving any video and you're not driving any real data. You're just using the internet to drive the voice, which is really not that heavy. Well, they built all this up to bring, I think it's data, voice, and video. That's what all this internet infrastructure has been built out for. All they're doing is just talking on the phone. And then using the app, they put you in these little rooms and the person got a little avatar, but there's really nothing else to it. There's no, I forgot what you call it, the particular protocol that they use for video. That's not even in there. Facebook initially didn't have any video on it. Facebook was real flat. Facebook was built off Blackboard, truth be told. So Jesus says somebody getting rich off something somebody did 20 years ago. Yeah, it go like that sometimes. It go like that in music too, in art. Somebody will have an idea. People been getting rich off Memphis music forever. So it's Memphis beats and beat patterns that they created 95, 96, 94, 98. It's people to this day still eating off those beat patterns and those flows. They're coming from Memphis. Quiet as kept. That's all that stuff coming. The whole crunk movement, a lot of that stuff P was doing, that come out of Memphis. Quiet as kept. But Memphis, for some reason, never could blow up with their own stuff until 3-6 finally blew up. But a lot of that stuff come from Memphis. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. That's Memphis music. A lot of this stuff, Lil Jon and all them blew up on, man, that was Memphis music. They just took it and made it look different. But that sound, that energy, the way they do music, man, that come right out of Memphis, Tennessee. It's like that. And sometimes in life, man, you can be so far ahead of the curve that people can't figure out what you're doing yet. They gotta get used to it. And then by that time, you done already got too old to keep doing it. Then a whole nother group of people take it and they run with it. They get big money. because a lot of those Memphis acts was doing stuff independent, and it's because you couldn't get music out to people back then. People didn't know about it. Then 8-9 years later, you got the internet, and Lil Jon just blow up with really the same music they was doing, but they was selling the tapes person to person in their neighborhoods. Same music, same sound, everything, but he just blew up off of it. It go like that sometimes. So Soulby, Oakland, California TV station, was the first streaming 24/7 that talk. AT&T, their money was in streaming. Chuck Johnson, I believe that. I'm gonna go look that up. That'll probably make a real good documentary or a real good movie. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. It's crazy. So trading says, as long as you let your ego give this in your lifetime, you can. But see, sometimes trade life, you can, especially like in music, you can be too old to do stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can have a certain sound or a certain, like, I don't know what you want to call it, angle, but then you ahead of your time. So let me give another example. There was a group called PM Dawn. They never blew up. A lot of people didn't like their music. Man, that's the same stuff Drake doing. Drake made himself literally, Drake probably worth north of $200-300 million. Man, he ain't doing nothing but PM Dawn music. But when PM Dawn came out with that, you couldn't blow up doing that type of stuff. Everybody wanted to be hard. It go like that sometimes. You just can be so ahead of the game. By the time people figure out or the times change the way you act, you too old to do it. Don't nobody want to see no 50-year-old dude doing that stuff. Drake came out at the right time for what he did. People was ready to accept that from a rapper the exact time he came out. He tried to come out 10 years ahead of that, they would have clowned Drake for doing that type of music. Plus, they can't buy TikTok. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the porn industry first thing should show the world there's money, man. Definitely. Yeah, everything we're doing online come from porn. Everything. They essentially created a format for pretty much everything we do on the internet, was driven by a desire to consume porn. I'm bearish on Gap. Small. Got push out. I went put again for tech fundamentals. Let's see how I go, man. You know what I'm saying? I would see how the week rolls out. Tomorrow, the last day of the market. So you never know. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And you see the dude from Silk Road, he doing life in the Fed. And they just, I don't know if you saw this, they arrested a dude in Georgia who they said stole Bitcoin off of Silk Road like a long time ago. And I asked somebody that posted the story, I said, what the hell he's still doing inside the United States? Dude took like multiple millions off Silk Road. If not $1 billion, I don't know. I wish I could find the article. But yeah, Ubrick I'm not going to say that because I don't want that for that man. But Ubrick is going to have a very challenging time getting out of federal custody. And you're right. What he did and what he built with that marketplace got him locked up, but it's because they couldn't control him. That's why I said, if you start creating parallel systems to these folks, because there's a lot of talk, GC, about a lot of them crypto dudes out there in Puerto Rico. A lot of people saying they need to watch how they moving out here. Because they saying that the traditional financial powers don't like what they doing. And these people won't hesitate to get you up out of here. And so a lot of word is out there. A lot of the little crypto crews out there in Puerto Rico trying to get that low tax rate. A lot of people say they need to watch how they move. Because these kind of people, these bankers and stuff, if you don't go along with the program they want, man, they'll just get you up out of here, man. It won't be nothing to them. So G said we're doing group chats on Xbox. Yeah, definitely. I used to do one-on-one chat when I used to play Madden on PlayStation. Yeah, Clubhouse got to look with Tommy. I wonder when they're going to go public. That's what I was always trying to figure out, when they're going to go public. And then I wonder if people will pay to use that. Like, will they pay $5 or $10 a month to use that? I don't use it because I don't have an Apple device. Somebody tried to get me to get a tablet to use it, but I don't have time to be on there talking to all them people, man. It's just too much. All that yelling and screaming, going back and forth, that's not me. And that's not me at all. It's just too much. So G said, when I saw them two dudes that took off with the Rolly song, they blew up off Jukin too. Yeah, I feel you. They have major recording labels. I don't know about that. I know they had the music. Memphis had the music, right? As far as that sound. Every region had their own sound. Because, down in Florida, we have what we call Miami bass. But Miami bass never blew up. You know, it just that sound that never blew up. You know, but Memphis sound is everywhere. If you hear it, you know it. You hear their beat patterns too. I'm gonna check out that Arthur Hayes. Yeah, I missed the run up on DWAC when Trump said that he was going to report. Somebody told me about it. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna play it. Somebody told me about it the moment that came out, and I looked at it, I was like, nah, I ain't gonna mess with it. And I mean, all them people that played it got over 1,000% on their calls, but I ain't want to deal with it. Yeah, it's an Asian dude. But why he ain't go overseas with all that money? How you know what you did? Like the guy know what he did. He know what he was involved in. Eventually, the feds gonna come looking for you. A lot of these people that I think they do stuff, they don't know what they really involved in. Eventually, they're gonna come looking for you, bro. So why you don't have your money? Why you not in Bali somewhere with your money? And just chill. And then if they try to come at you, you get you a lawyer and you have your lawyer try to work it out while you just in Bali just chilling. He in some part of Georgia, I think he might have been in Gainesville somewhere trying to be a real estate agent. But then people went right to that man's house and picked him up. You got all that money and you know what you did to get the money. You still inside the United States. So what you trying to do? Play it off? You people crazy, man. That's why I say 99% of people in the world don't ever need to commit a crime. Why? Because they can't think smart enough. They're not smart enough, bro. And they think the police and they think detectives is dumb. They're not dumb. Don't never believe that. These people are not dumb. And they got all the time in the world to catch you. So you relaxing in Georgia trying to be a real estate agent, and they just taking their time to catch you. Why? Because they know you're not on the run. You in public, you in the open. So they're not even gonna put no pressure on you till they're ready to come get you. Because they don't want you to flee. They want you to stay right where you at. Yeah, he got double life. But GC, he could have played the 10 years, and I would have told him to take the 10. That was my homeboy. I say, man, take the 10. Think about your mama. He tried to fight the case, and when you try to fight their case and you lose, they're gonna give you all the time in the world. I would have told him, if that was my homeboy, to say, man, take them 10 years, man. You'll be out in 8.5 years. Right? And really with you being a white dude, you'll probably get 6 years. They'll put you in a halfway house for the next 2.5 years, and you'll be right back on the street. And now that you got a name and you'll be able to get into something. End of the day, that's a white man. I don't want people to think I'm talking race. I'm just talking about how this country's set up. He built that. It actually worked. He got a track record. He'll be able to get into something else. Now, the feds may put stipulations on him that he can't do it. He'll probably have to go overseas and do it, but it's the internet, so you can still have reach with it. He should have took them 10 years. I don't know what he tried to do fighting that case. Because when he lost, they gave that man all the time in the world. Geechee, then I think they gave him life plus something. I don't think it's not looking real good for him. I don't want to say that it's never going to happen for him, but I think they gave him life plus something because he fought the case. He should have took the 10 years. So Geechee Stan says Tech Nine was doing that karate chop style flow in the 90s and then pop to the mid 2020. Yeah, but big up to Tech Nine, he got paid though, because him and that other dude, they own their record company. So big up to him, he got paid. Yeah, he was ahead of his time though. Definitely. So when you look in the SBF, you see who produced him. He was well connected before into crypto. We got to look into that. But you know, them people, they clicked up, man. You know what I'm saying? They running in groups. We the only ones out here all by ourselves. Yeah, you got to be invited. And that's cool for me. I don't need to be invited. I don't need to be talking to people like that for 5 hours. It's too much. Yeah. Well, electric cars been out a long time. You know, it's nothing new. You know, it's just they reinvented it. But like I said, they were out and they never sold like the way Teslas are selling. So Musk with the electric car, he put it out at the right time because now it's selling. But they never sold the way Teslas are selling. And I was in a Tesla not too long ago. It's a nice car. I can't front on it. I can't front on the car. It's a nice car. I can't say it's not a nice car. It's a nice car. And I like cars. It's a real nice car. Yeah, I know you're talking about the other Bitcoin chick, a crypto chick. Yeah, these people crazy, man. They be committing crimes, big money crimes, and they be in the States and they be in public and stuff. Man, y'all don't know them people looking for y'all? You got to get low, man. Yeah. I mean, it still don't make no sense because federal got a 90-something% conviction rate, and the burden of proof in the federal system is way lower than it is on the state level. And you got to know when everything is against you, in my opinion, right? And I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about an Uber situation. I wouldn't have did that. I would have took the 10 years because you could take the 10 years and get out and still do what you're doing. You just got to go to another part of the world. One of the biggest mistakes I think he made was he tried to do that inside the United States, and they weren't going for that. So he should just have left. You know, he could have been in Bali too doing it, you know, because the guys from, I don't know if you know about the Pirate Bay, right? They did a little bit of time, but they didn't get caught up like Uber because they weren't inside the States. And then also dude from Mega Upload, Kim from Mega Upload. He was in New Zealand. You know, he had to do a little something, but he didn't do what other people had to do because he wasn't in the States, you know, and they came after him because he had servers in Virginia. So they was able to come after him. But you got to be careful with these people. Like I said, they offer you them 10 years, man, you know what they got against you. Take the 10 and get out. Because Uber was a relatively young man. He could have damn near been out by now. You know, but to get all that time, man, that's crazy. Because you ain't doing nothing but hurting your family. You know what I'm saying? Because now they got to deal with your long-term incarceration. See, I would have told a man, just take them 10 years and get out. So people think SBI, yeah, we'll see. You never know. Yeah, everything was on Mega Upload. He had servers in Virginia. That's why they was able to come after him. If he would have had those servers in Virginia, they could have did nothing to him. But it is what it is. I was never big on Mega Upload. I was big on the Pirate Bay. That was my site. But, you know, everybody had their thing. That era right there, man, it was crazy. It wasn't nothing you could get on the internet. You get a movie. I used to know a girl from Sri Lanka when I was in college. This was like 2009. And she told me when the movie come out in Hollywood on Friday, the next week in Sri Lanka is already out on DVD. So when Hollywood, the movie come out, she told me next week in Sri Lanka, the movie already out on DVD. So that era was crazy, man. It wasn't nothing you couldn't get on the internet. It just was a different era, you know. But those days pretty much over with. Everybody on Netflix now. I heard SB's mother was one of Hillary. I believe you. I believe you. That's probably why he was giving so much money to the Democrats. Yeah, he could have been out by now. That's the downside of what he did. He could have been out. He could have been free. And with his track record, he could have gotten something else. Because we know he know how to do it because he did it. And he did it way before everybody else did it. So like I said, I would have told a man, just take them 10 years, man. And you'll be out you'll be in a halfway house in 6.5 years. And they'll put you in a minimum. Just be in there just chilling. Because you see what the farmer bro did, what his name is, Mr. Farmer Bro, he took his little time and got out. It didn't make no sense to fight them people, man. They had you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to fight them and you're going to end up getting triple the time and you're never going to get out. The way these people playing ball out here, these fans, man, they'll lock you up forever. You know, forever and ever. Yeah, Shkreli. Yeah, he got out. He out now doing his thing. He got him a little fan base. He can get him some money. He put something together. You know, he got some little, you know, frat boys out there look up to him. So we're going to get up on out of here, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through. But like I say, man, be careful buying that dip because it might keep dipping. Y'all be easy, man. Talk to you later.